And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of HBS Legal Trends. I'm John Ray, and I'm sitting here alongside HBS partner Baxter Drennan. Baxter, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Great to have you on. Give folks a quick little introduction to you, those that may not know you.
Yeah, well, again, I'm Baxter Drennan. I'm a partner with Hall Booth Smith in the Little Rock, Arkansas office. Came over to Hall Booth Smith actually last October, working to build out our Arkansas presence and kind of using that regionally. When I came over with another partner, but there were 3 lawyers the day we got here. We're up to 9 lawyers and another half dozen or so staff members. So growing fast and really enjoying being with Hall Booth Smith.
That's terrific. Well, it's great for you to join HBS Legal Trends and to bring a great guest. And folks, we're here welcoming Burt Hicks. And Burt is President, Chief Strategy Officer, and General Counsel. All that makes me tired listening to all that. That's a lot of responsibility. He's with Encore Bank in Little Rock. Burt, welcome.
Well, thank you, John. Happy to be here and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. For those that don't know about Encore Bank, how about giving us a quick little introduction to your company?
Sure. We call ourselves a commercially focused kind of boutique concierge bank. We are headquartered in Little Rock, but we operate in 9 states and 21 markets across those states. Obviously, that doesn't mean we can't do business nationwide, but that's where we have our physical locations. But we're a branch light FTE, which is full-time employee light business model, but still with the concierge kind of flavor. So really high touch, but also high digital kind of flavor to how we do business.
Now, for some folks, that high touch, high digital may seem like a contradiction. Talk about how that works for you and how you're able to give your customers such great service.
Yeah, I really consider us kind of a hybrid business model, at least in the banking world. You've got your community banks or even regional banks that they focus more on convenience through a physical branch infrastructure or ATM infrastructure. We're not as focused on branch locations. We only have 1 office location in each of our markets, but we are super focused on making sure that the client experience is above and beyond any expectations that they could have. So we want you to be able to bank with Encore the way you want to bank with Encore, is the way we like to say it, not the way we tell you you're going to bank with Encore. But because we knew we were going to have a lighter branch infrastructure and a lower head count, we knew we had to go out and invest in and build a really high quality technology infrastructure, a technology platform that would provide that level of convenience for banking consumers, and I'm not just talking about personal business, but consumers of banking services, let's call it that way. We knew we'd have to go out and build and buy a platform that would allow that really convenient experience. And so it's a little bit of that kind of feeling, the banking the way it ought to be kind of feel with knowing your banker and having a great relationship and not having to fill out every line of the loan application every time you do business with us. But it's also, again, just, hey, I need to get something done super quick, and I need to do it on my phone or through an appliance at my office, a technology appliance at my office that we can install.
Now, it sounds like what you're doing is using technology to leverage the time and expertise of your employees as they serve clients, as opposed to, I think, what maybe some of the big banks have done, frankly, is really shuffle people off to not dealing with people and using technology that way.
Yeah, I think you teased that out really well, because I actually don't think I said what I was trying to say very well. So I appreciate that. But we actually say we try to couple our really seasoned, veteran, very experienced bankers with best in breed technology. So you pulled it out really well. I mean, we are trying to enable our banking professionals to bank their clients the way that they need to be banked. And they do that in many cases through technology. And so, yeah, you tease that out really well.
Terrific. Now, one of the things we were talking before we came on, Baxter mentioned the relationship that you enjoy with a number of financial technology players, FinTech in the lingo, FinTech companies out there, and how you've used those relationships to build that infrastructure. Talk about that.
Yeah, so FinTech has become quite the buzzword in banking, and not that it wasn't beginning or maybe even was 3 years ago when we started Encore Bank, but for us, FinTech is not just something we say. It is a big part of who we are. We don't want to lose sight of that, again, concierge, really knowing your client, knowing your banker kind of approach. But we talk about FinTech really in five prongs. So we have 3 financial technology co-founders on our board. These are folks that have started and in some cases exited, and in many cases continue to invest in the FinTech industry. They advise us, on our technology strategy, our technology direction, and they also help us, keep us really in tune as to what's going on in the industry. And then we've got a tech and innovation hub in Austin, Texas, which is one of the best technology markets, if not the best technology market in the country. That team down there is really focused on vetting technology, both to either address a business issue that we've identified or go attack a business opportunity that we've identified. That group is led by Alan Rayson, who literally in the last couple of weeks was named the Digital Banker of the Year by American Banker magazine. So got some really good credibility there. The third prong is we invest directly into financial technology. So we have literally written equity checks and invested alongside some of our FinTech partners, whereby, we're taking an equity position. We may be taking a board seat. We may have observational rights to the board. We get to influence the build out of that platform or that technology. The fourth way is probably the more traditional way, and that's, hey, we've got to partner with technology providers, FinTech companies out there to deliver a banking platform. We've just been really very disciplined as to how we've gone about that. Today, we probably partner with about 30 FinTechs. And then the final way, and this is pretty unique as well, we are the exclusive bank sponsor for a FinTech accelerator in Tampa, Florida, which is one of our markets. And that is an accelerator program that's gone through multiple iterations, multiple industries, but is now focused on financial technology. And, they get applicants from all over the world that come in to do this, multi-month boot camp program, teach them how to build their business, how to scale their business, how to raise capital or whatever. We are the only bank that's involved in that whole accelerator program. And we went to them early on and said, hey, we want to be your underwriting sponsor and we want exclusivity on the banking side because we want to see the selection process. We want to have a chance to potentially invest in some of these companies. We want to have a chance to potentially beta test some of their technology. And so, yeah, we like to say we eat, sleep, and breathe FinTech.
Now, there's that old saying about being on the bleeding edge. That's comes from the critics that talk about getting in too early, and into innovations like what you're talking about. How do you vet the companies and the platforms that you invest in, that you get involved in?
Yeah, and let me maybe throw a disclaimer out there. I'm a banker. We're a bank, so I don't know that we're bleeding edge on anything. But maybe that second wave. We are risk managers at heart, right? That's what we do. So your question hits on vendor due diligence, really, in a lot of ways. We spend a lot of time understanding how some of these companies are capitalized. What is the experience of the principals or the founders? Do they have credibility, or is this not that this kind of company can't be successful? Is this just some really, really smart kid who's got a great idea and might move on to the next thing 2 years from now. We want to make sure that we have a true relationship, just like we do with our clients and with our employees. We do a lot in terms of what I'd call kind of qualitative vetting, in addition to quantitative vetting of our FinTech partners. But it gets down to ultimately, how do we underwrite the risk as it relates to our business? I mean, cybersecurity today is huge. We really want to understand how these companies have addressed cybersecurity. And so it's deep. I think they would tell you it's sometimes it's painful, but it's a big part of our whole program on FinTech partnerships.
That makes sense. Now, I heard a little rumor that you've got an interesting attitude about ATMs. Let's talk about ATMs.
I don't know where you heard that, but yeah, we don't have any ATMs, and that was a decision we made really literally from the start. If I placed an ATM that may be convenient for you, it's not going to be convenient for Baxter or for me, because you live 7 streets down the road. So we made a decision that, hey, these banks have built an infrastructure over the last several decades, and there's thousands of banks that all have a whole lot of ATMs out there. Why not leverage that ATM infrastructure as a whole and just reimburse our clients for the fee that they're going to get charged when they swipe their debit card at some other bank's ATM? We'll be able to do that a whole lot of times before we would have bought one ATM that may be convenient for you, but it's not going to be convenient for our other tens of thousands of clients. So much like we view our branch infrastructure, which, by the way, we don't own any of that real estate. We lease all of that real estate, but we just view ATMs and branches as something that we're not going to invest our capital into. We're gonna let somebody else do that.
Great words here, folks, from Burt Hicks. Burt is President, Chief Strategy Officer, and General Counsel of Encore Bank in Little Rock. So, Burt, let's take a little detour here if we can and talk about you. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what the experience and the journey that leads you to in Encore Bank.
Sure. I mean, I'm an Arkansas boy, born and raised. I have spent time outside the state, but I consider this home and always have and always will. I feel really blessed that I had a mentor that really invested in me early on in my career. He's still someone that I have a deep relationship with. His name is Tommy May. He was former chairman and CEO of Simmons First National Corporation. Mr. May, like I said, really invested in me professionally, but absolutely just as importantly, personally. So I met Mr. May my freshman year of college. I have quite literally wanted to start a bank since my junior year of high school, which is I yield maybe a little bit different, but this has been a dream of mine, and he developed me in a way that I had the ability to do that one day. I've also worked with some outstanding people along the way and some brilliant people, and have learned so much from so many. I've had a lot of people that have invested in me, both, like I said, professionally and personally. The thing that took us here was just the changing banking environment. The way that banks had grown up through the Great Recession, and then the way consumer preferences were changing even pre-COVID. Really saw an opportunity to do something differently, and then I feel extremely blessed to have a relationship with the other two co-founders of Encore. I'll mention Chris Roberts. I got to know him actually through one of the first transactions I worked on at my previous employer. My background is mergers and acquisitions, so I got to know Chris when my former employer bought his second bank. Or at least the bank that he was leading at that time. And so that's how I got to know him professionally. And we built a relationship over the next handful plus years. And, he offered me an opportunity to partner with him and build an Encore. And that was an exciting opportunity and really aligned with my career aspirations. And then the other co-founder, his name is Philip Jett, just an amazing banker in his own right. He and Chris go way back, but kind of getting back to my personal story, it really boils down to if I can kind of tease out any sort of life lessons. It's about who you partner with, and it's about who you invest with. And I don't mean financially, I mean, experientially and blood, sweat, and tears, but also who invest in you. And I think I'm the product of having some really great, valuable, and deep relationships that are both personal and professional.
Well, wise words. That's awesome. Let's dig in a little deeper to how you expand, how you evaluate markets. It sounds like it's not really market oriented as much as it is finding the right person to build out a market. How do you find that person?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it's actually a little bit of both. So when we started Encore, our idea was, hey, branches don't matter as much, but markets do. So the type of market we want to go to has been defined from the very beginning. Which markets, we were fairly agnostic. We were really going to use our relationships to expand our footprint. So today we're in 9 states, like I said, and 21 markets across those states. Every single one of those markets are led by somebody that either the one of the 3 of us knew personally, or another one of our market leaders knew personally. So I think that's really important. It kind of goes back to the conversation we were just having of relationships really do matter. When you know someone and you trust someone, you know how they do business and you know how they operate, with their kids and their clients. I think it's a whole lot easier to say, hey, I want to partner with you. And so that's how we've ended up in 21 markets. However, each of those 21 markets are among the best markets in America. I mean, if you look at any top 10 list of the fastest growing cities or the best business clients or the best business cities in America, at least 7 or 8 of our 21 are on that list of 10. And then, depending on the list, maybe all 10. And so we are absolutely focused on the type of market we want to go to, but we've been agnostic thus far as to which ones. And it's why, candidly, maybe Texas and Missouri made sense to the outside world. But then the very next market we went to was Tampa, Florida. And that was a jump. And we didn't have any dots in between the map at that time. Now we've kind of worked our way backwards and upwards. But then, you also look at what we've recently done with Denver and Boulder. I mean, that kind of maybe seems scattered. It's certainly not. We know those 2 leaders, Gary Geis in Boulder and Josh Peoples in Denver. We're super excited to be in both of those fantastic markets. But it's less about, hey, how do you connect these dots on the map? And it's more about how do you connect the leaders that are running the markets? And it's a spider web at Encore. So that's how we've done it, through relationships. But also a big part of that is, for us, what we've been doing is building a bank from scratch for all intents and purposes. And so we really needed entrepreneurial bankers and bankers. And I'm talking about myself when I talk about this, but we tend to be, really risk averse. We tend to be conservative in nature. And not all of us out there are entrepreneurs at heart. But we've gone out and really had some hard conversations with folks that would have made great teammates in terms of their ability to produce, but maybe they weren't ready to truly bet on themselves or to build something from scratch, and it just wasn't going to work out. And so we've had to pass on some markets that maybe on its face would have looked really attractive. So we asked that person, are you willing to be an entrepreneur? Are you willing to build something from scratch? Are you willing to contribute to the overall build of Encore? We also ask them if they're willing to bet on themselves. So it's not just enough to say, yeah, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. We're asking them to literally become our equity partner through an investment in Encore. And there's not an exception in the entire footprint. Every single one of these leaders has invested a significant portion of their own wealth into Encore. Then we talk about the team that they're going to bring over and the clientele that they're going to bring over. But the last question that we ask, and this is, as important as their own personal investment, is let's talk a little bit about your network, and let's talk about the ability to raise capital locally in your market around you and the team that we're talking about building. Because when you look at our footprint, we're in Austin, Texas, and Dallas, Texas, and Nashville, Tennessee, and Denver, Colorado, and Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, these markets are super competitive. So we don't want to just be the next bank in Nashville. We really want to have a runway that's surrounded by 50 to 100 local business owners, local real estate investors, real estate developers, lawyers, attorneys, doctors, in the marketplace. These are folks that are movers and shakers in Nashville, Tennessee, or in San Antonio, Texas. And so that's the last piece of the conversation we have when we're talking to these prospective leaders is tell us about the ability to raise capital locally, because we don't want to just be the next bank in that market. We really want to come in and become the go-to bank for the business community in any one of these given markets.
So you're really talking about folks that can bring clients that believe enough in your story to become investors. That's really what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and outside of Chris and myself, there's no one else. And I apologize if I'm wrong about this to any of our folks that are listening and say, hey, well, I actually have done that before. I don't think any of us had ever raised capital before outside of the two of us. Mm-hmm. And so at first that's kind of it's a scary conversation. Sure. And none of this takes place over, 24 hours. I mean, these are many cases, several month long type conversations. So yeah, it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit daunting, but what we show them is, hey, over the course of our first 3 years through 2 capital raises, we raised almost $200 million from almost 1,600 individuals across the footprint at that time. We are the fastest growing bank in the country. We have a story to tell. It's more about what is your relationship with the right folks in the market and letting us come in and tell the story. There is a compelling equity opportunity here, and getting that person, that potential leader, comfortable with that. That's the piece that maybe takes some time. Once they get that, and by the way, they become great at telling the story inside their own market within their own network. And it's probably the thing that we all love the most now. This whole, I'm going to raise capital among my clientele, among my friends and family and my centers of influence in my market. But it is the piece also at the front end of the conversation that maybe is the biggest hurdle to clear.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you've got a record to show. I mean, if my numbers may be slightly off, but it sounds like you've been around for about 3 years, almost $2 billion in assets, starting from scratch, basically, right? I mean, you're right under $2 billion.
Yeah, we'll update for you. We're actually about $2.6 billion.
I can't keep up with you, Burt.
Yeah, but when we got our hands on this bank charter back in 2019, it was a little less than $150 million. So okay. in less than 3.5 years, we've grown by $2.5 billion in assets.
Wow. What a story, folks. Encore Bank, and we're here chatting with Burt Hicks. He's President, Chief Strategy Officer, and General Counsel. Speaking of employees, let's talk about the problem that everyone has, which is recruiting, retaining great employees, great team members. Talk about what your philosophy is there.
Well, this is probably becoming a theme just in our conversation, but relationships matter. So, typically we have a relationship in some form or fashion with somebody that's joining the team, or it comes from somebody that we really, really have a lot of respect for and appreciation for, as like maybe a recommendation of, hey, you need to talk to this treasury management person in this market. So relationships matter, and it kind of gets we get past very quickly of the ability of, do I trust what this person's telling me they can do, because we know it from experience and relationship. But so the recruiting part is pretty simple for us. We think we've got a really compelling story. We're building a different kind of bank, and we've had a lot of success recruiting. But the retention piece is probably the thing I'm most proud of, or at least one of the things I'm most proud of at Encore. We have very low employee attrition, industry low, candidly. We've got a really transparent culture. Culture is another one of those buzzwords, and I actually had become adverse to using it. But when we started Encore, this has just developed truly organically. And so I'm back to using the word. We've someone that I have a long-standing relationship with is now our chief people officer, and she kind of owns culture, if you will. A lot of people, we all own it, right? I mean, it's just as much my responsibility and her responsibility as the banker in Boulder, Colorado. But anything that touches people, both internally and externally, she kind of oversees. And she's just raved and raved about, hey, you were telling me about this culture. You were telling me about what you guys had built. And I believed it because I believed you. But now that I'm here and I'm experiencing it, I've never seen anything like it. And to hear that from somebody that, has a history in quote unquote human resources is pretty fascinating. We've got, I could rattle off stats with you of different employee surveys and awards we've won, but culture, I think, is our secret sauce. Our business model is maybe a little different in the raising capital locally and the employee ownership and all these things that make us maybe a little bit unique. But our secret sauce is 100% our culture. And I think it is the reason we retain employees. We do a lot of things intentionally different from the industry than, and again, those were very purposeful decisions we made back, but even before COVID, when we were starting the bank. But I think that's the thing that again, I'm most proud of is just how few employees decide that there's a better place than Encore, and they leave, which is, for all of us that have been in banking for so long, it was every day you lost somebody that you had a great relationship with and you enjoyed working with, but they felt like the bank across the street was a better place for them and their family. And we've been blessed thus far in 3.5 years, not to see that kind of attrition.
That's great. Now, in this 3.5 years, you talked about the tremendous growth you've had. Talk about speaking of relationships, your relationship with Baxter and the folks at Hall Booth Smith, and how that relationship has been instrumental in your growth.
Yeah. All right. Maybe the last time I'll talk about relationships. Okay. So
keep talking. I love it. So
I've known Baxter since college. Baxter was one of those movers and shakers. Baxter was somebody that was doing big things on campus, and the little guys like me were looking and saying, man, how do I get in his circle? So Baxter's somebody that I've admired for a long time. We have a lot of mutual friends, and we've stayed in touch through, after college. Funny enough, when I was going to law school, I actually clerked with Baxter and his previous firm. So had that reconnection, if you will. Again, we have a lot of mutual friends, and we were going through some litigation a couple years ago. And his previous firm showed up on a potential opportunity for us, and I said, "Hey, I know a few folks there," and called Baxter, and he quickly said, "Man, we would love to help you. I'd love to help you. I've kept up with what you guys are doing." And we were still really young. We were just barely over a year old. And Baxter, as is always his MO. He jumped in there and bulldogged it and took it seriously. We were on the phone, texting or talking at 6 a.m. many times, and texting and calling at 8 or 9 at night, strategizing. I just saw how he really, cared for his clients. And I didn't think that we were an exception just because of some conversations we had. And then when Baxter made the decision to pursue this opportunity, which I told him was a fantastic opportunity, obviously a great firm in Hall Booth Smith, the opportunity to get back to the entrepreneurial spirit, kind of build something in Arkansas for HBS. I was excited for him and told him that we would absolutely do as much business as we possibly could, and has made sense with HBS and with him. So today, Baxter helps us with a lot of different things. And I say Baxter, it's a team, right? Everybody's got people behind them that maybe don't get to experience the limelight. But, I think the thing that Baxter's really, really helped us do, getting back to this recruiting philosophy that we have, banking is littered with, non-solicitation agreements, non-compete agreements, which candidly are really toxic and and bad for the professionals that make up this industry. And it's something that I'm personally adverse to. But Baxter's really helped us get our hands around what restrictions are out there for a prospective employee on the front end. So we've built a much more formalized onboarding program to kind of alleviate some of the legal risk associated with hiring folks. Unfortunately, sometimes you can never totally alleviate litigation risk. Anybody can sue you for anything.
Sure.
But Baxter's done a great job of helping us get our hands wrapped around what potential risk is out there. And again, because of the relationship we have with our employees, everything's transparent. Hey, listen, this is a long game. We're not running a sprint. So here's what you can and can't do over the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever. Just abide by this, and we're off to the races after that. We're going to do things the right way, even if we don't think it's enforceable. We're gonna hold to what you've agreed to do previously. And so Baxter's just really helped us there. He's also helped us with some employee issues and some other contractual opportunities. So we've been pleased to have this relationship and look forward to expanding it further.
That's terrific. Well, Burt, this has been great. Before we wrap it up, though, I'd appreciate you looking ahead. I know you're opportunistic, and it's hard to say what the future will hold, but look out 3 to 5 years, and what's ahead for Encore Bank?
Sure. You know what? I've learned a lesson. I'm not going to handicap where we will be in size. 2 years in a row, I've said there's no way we're going to double in size after doubling in size our first 2 years, and I was very wrong last year. And 6.5 months in, it looks like I could be wrong again this year. So I won't handicap where we'll be in size, and honestly, that's less important, right? It's about capabilities, and so I think we'll continue to try to enhance our banking platform. We will absolutely try to stay abreast with expectations in the marketplace in terms of what commercial and consumer clients want and need from their bank. I think we will continue to be a leader in the FinTech world. Again, maybe not a bleeding edge leader, but a leader nonetheless. I think we're getting pretty close to being done with our expansion mode. I'm not saying we won't add another market here or there, but I don't think you're going to see us go to another 20 markets in the next 3 years. I think you might see, 1 or 2 or 3 over the next several years. I think you'll continue to see us grow our in-market presence. So our focus the next several years will be building scale and density in each of our markets, maybe continuing to round out our teams. So many of our markets are still really, really young. And so we'll continue to build out those teams. But I think, the thing I'm pretty confident of, we're going to continue to have a whole lot of fun. We're going to continue to do our part and trying to disrupt and doing something different. In terms of one other stat that I'll share with you today, we're just under 300 employees. We're $2.5 or a little over $2.5 billion in assets. The fun part about our business model is I think we're not done hiring, but we're not going to hire another 290 employees to get to much larger. We've built an infrastructure that's going to support a much larger institution. So we'll probably bring on another 50 to 100 teammates, family members, as we call them. But it's not going to be double in terms of our employee headcount. But I don't know if that's what you were wanting in terms of Encore and what the next several years hold for us.
The name Encore sounds like it's ending. It sounds like an ending, but you're just beginning, man. This is this is awesome stuff. Let's see, relationships, growth, and fun. You can't get any better than that. So, Burt Hicks has been with us, folks, and he is one of the co-founders of Encore Bank and President, Chief Strategy Officer, General Counsel. Burt, congratulations on your success thus far, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you. And one final plug. It's not my success. It's our team's success. And I'm not just saying that. It's truly been a team effort.
That's terrific. Well, thank you again so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, folks, just a quick reminder that this show is brought to you by Hall Booth Smith. And for Hall Booth Smith, in experience across legal disciplines, combined with a focus on the unique business or personal requirements of the client, is a hallmark of the firm. Their clients receive the attention, expertise, and cost effectiveness of a smaller law firm with a full service and strong regional presence that's typical of a firm that's much larger. At HBS, their promise is serving to achieve excellence. For more information, visit hallboothsmith.com. Baxter, wow, this was an awesome guest. Hit it out of the park today.
Absolutely. I was glad to just be along for the ride and get to hear all that. Burt and I talk regularly, and I know a lot about the bank and him, but getting even more of the backstory was great. Especially our path as a firm, a little longer trajectory than Encore, but it's pretty neat. Just a lot of the same core values and tenets, and even just growth area. A lot of the places where Encore has grown, Hall Booth Smith has grown over the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been great, and thank you so much for lining up this conversation with Burt Baxter, and continued success to you as well.
Thank you.
Hey, folks, this is John Ray. This has been HBS Legal Trends. Thank you for joining us. Join us next time.